E aí, beleza? Meu nome é Juliano Custódio e seja bem-vindos ao canal sobre de TI. Estamos em mais um episódio do Teste em Produção. Realmente fazendo um teste em produção aqui, encontrei meu convidado, estou aqui na sede da Microsoft em Redmond, encontrei o David aqui e resolvemos gravar um vídeo para o teste em produção, mais um episódio. Então, eu vou mudar para o inglês, porque o David ele vai depois falar um pouco mais sobre ele. Ele é do México, eu sou do Brasil, eu não falo muito bem espanhol, ele não fala muito bem inglês, nós decidimos também fazer inglês para atingir um número maior de pessoas. Nice to meet you again.
Yeah, nice to meet you again.
And thanks so much to spend a time to talk with me and with my community.
Yeah, sure. Happy to be here. And boa tarde para vocês.
David, first introduce yourself to the people, please.
Sure, I'm Dave Rondon. I'm an Azure MVP for a couple of years now. And yeah, happy to be here talking with you.
I say to you, nice to meet, but now I remember I meet you in 2019,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, in a MVP Summit too. And tell me, what you doing? What you working?
So currently, I work as a CSA Cloud Solutions Architect for SkyTalk. We basically help customers migrate their Power IBM workloads to Azure, right? And yeah, I'm very passionate about Azure. I remember I started like in 2010, more or less. It was just the early stages of Azure. You were able to probably run a couple of virtual machines,
Yeah.
and it was very interesting in those days. And today I'm more focused towards like infrastructure as code with Bicep language.
Oh, nice,
Yeah.
nice. Me too.
Yeah.
Me too. I am working now with Bicep and a couple of ARM templates and creating infrastructure as code to Azure.
Great.
Yeah. Um, Another important point you say, you told me that when you start, the Azure was a very different service that we have now.
Yeah.
Probably, it's an interesting point because you can follow all the chains between this time, And what do you think the main points that change if we compare when you start and now this service? I know it's a lot of change.
Yeah. I was gonna say, well, it's a totally different world now, right? So, because in the past we used to have this classic approach to how we operate with the Azure platform, and today we have like all these services, more flexibility on how we can build a solution for a customer, right? But from my perspective, I think that one of the great opportunities of working on the Azure platform is if we look back at 2010 and how it has evolved so far. Um, I have had the opportunity to learn all the way from the basics how it worked, and how services transitioned until a point where we are at today, so that we can be more flexible on how we can leverage infrastructure as code to not only manage like virtual machines or basic components like we had in the past, but today with infrastructure as code we have more flexibility to build a robust solution, right? So that spans like serverless, but also components like cognitive services, which is Azure AS services now, right? So it's very interesting how you can now leverage infrastructure as code with Bicep language or ARM, as you mentioned earlier, to build a more complex solution, right?
Right.
You can easily automate things that we couldn't do in the past, right? So in the past, we used to have like what our PowerShell, just scripting, right? And today we have like all these flavors that we can combine to build a solution. So it's great to see how it has evolved over time.
Nice, nice, nice. And what do you think is the what or better? What do you imagine the cloud serves in the future?
Um, that's a good
Yeah,
question.
I know.
So I think that, um, I mean, initially, we are coming from this virtualization layer, and then we moved into a bit of a containerized approach, right? So I think that next is gonna be still adoption of container-based solutions, but also an approach to a serverless based solutions, right?
Okay.
At some point, right? It's gonna take a while, of
Yeah,
course.
yeah,
But yeah, I see that as the next step. Um, um, there are different perspectives in here because if you think about also um, services within Azure AI, right? So you need to take care about also the underlying components, how you run your model, right? That means you need to have like all the infrastructure components to support the application, right?
right.
But yeah, that's where I see like kind of in the short term, probably more adoption on containers and then frameworks around how to manage those containerized applications, and then how we can better build serverless solutions, right?
Nice, nice, nice. And what is your recommendation to one person that are starting the career in IT area, for example? I know you work with cloud. Probably you will talk about cloud computing and other things like that. But imagine, for example, one person that are watching us and are thinking about starting IT area and maybe start work to cloud. What is your recommendation to this person?
So I'm gonna be kind of agnostic to a specific vendor,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, no, about cloud service
Yeah,
in general.
but if I think back at this point, um, I will probably follow a similar path, right? You can choose a technology that you feel um, passionate about, right?
Right.
I was gonna say easy for you, but no, that's not the word because in most cases, when there's a new technology, you need to learn a lot. You need to um, test, right? And sometimes it's not easy, right? It's a lot of frustration at the beginning, right? Because you need to learn, you need to try and try and try. But as long as you like the area that you select, I think everything is gonna be easier for you. Like not only on your what you are passionate about, right? But also on your impact in your work, right? So, for example, let's say I'm sure you have the same experience with ARM templates, right? So I'm sure when you started with ARM templates, you had like just headaches about working with the APIs, how you define resources, right?
Yeah,
And
the
then
file structure.
yeah, and then as you build like more complex environments, it's challenging
Yes,
sometimes, right?
exactly, exactly.
And then we had to relearn because we had now the option to adopt bicep language, so you need to transition, right? And that's a learning process as well, but as
Yeah,
long as you are passionate about it, right, I think it's easier for you, like personally speaking, like learning the technology and then applying the technology and then sharing that knowledge with the community as well.
yeah, nice. David is a book author about Azure. Tell me more about your book, please.
um, that was a
First,
Very interesting story. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. First,
Uh,
I will put the exactly the name and the link that where you can find his book. Okay, in the description here. But tell me more about
yeah, sure.
first the name of your book and a little summary about your book, please, to the people that don't know about your book.
Yeah, sure. So I have written a couple of books, Azure for Decision Makers, and then Azure Architecture Explained, and before that, a couple of additional books. Um, and I just started as a co-author like a couple of years ago with Peter Ditender. So I remember that first experience authoring. I was like, how am I gonna write so that people can understand the concept of this technology, and how can I like articulate it in a way that they can digest like all this information, right? So for me it was challenging at the beginning, right? And then I had a very good mentorship from Peter as well. And as you like write and type your examples and everything, it's becoming easier and easier a bit more each day, right? And the last books are basically, one is targeting CIOs or people who are primarily new to Azure.
Yeah,
So it's gonna give them like a high level overview on the Azure platform and different components like targeting, like governance, security, deployment, and so on, right? And the other one is basically if you want to learn like how to architect or build solutions in the Azure platform, is gonna give you like a baseline for you to have a better comprehension of the Azure services, so that you can have a better understanding on how you can build your solution using like all the components. I would say probably the fundamental components in Azure. So yeah, it was quite challenging at the beginning, because you need to just start like page one. Okay, so how do I start?
just one
So
observation was my fault. I just know about one book. I am discovering now that you have more than one book. Sorry about that.
no worries.
But it's an interesting point. I don't know another books, but this book specifically, the last that you mentioned, I I read. I think I'm reading now because I need reading the last part of the book.
Yeah.
I don't finish, but it's an interesting point. And basically, I imagine, for example, you and another guys writing this book because not is a technical exactly book. You not is a deeply content.
Right.
You is a different perspective, and to us that work with Azure. Um, I confess this is an interesting point because probably if you work with Azure for I don't know many years, probably you read this book and you think, oh, but why I need to read this book if I work and I know this subject? But is a way to learn about Azure in a different perspective. Because, for example, you have I'm not a spoiler, but just a
Right.
little bit. I remember that I wrote this part and I think, wow, I don't know about that. Like for example, the main points of the Azure history. For example, oh, when Azure started, when Microsoft make the first investment in, for example, OpenAI, for
Right.
example, and you
Yeah.
start to connect the points of the history to have a different perspective of the
Yeah.
product and of the Azure in
Yeah.
general.
And what I like also, based on your comment, is that, yeah, already the platform, right? For a number of years, say, but I like always like reading on a daily basis like different perspectives, right? From you and from other MVPs, right? Because yeah, you know how to do things in a certain way, but there's you know there's other people there that know how to do the same process but in a different manner, right, with probably a same or a better result, right? But you get like you you get like what's their approach to solve the same problem,
Yeah,
and then you get a different context and you have a better idea on how to better approach a solution, right? And that's gonna help you also gain experience because you both probably faced the same problem, but the solution and the components that you used to build the solution were probably different. And so you gain that those perspectives, I think are very interesting to learn from.
yeah. And another important point that is, for example, um, this perspective of this book is more became more easy to me explain Azure, for example, to people that I work that not is a technical person.
Yeah.
Like for example, managers. Sometimes
Right.
we need to explain something about Azure to them, and this helped me, for example, to explain. Like for
Right.
example, imagine a recently situation that
Yeah.
right. I need to explain to one non person, not person technical, the concept of infrastructure as a service and
Mhm.
platform as a service and the difference.
All right.
And explain with this perspective is more easy to then understand what I am trying say.
Yeah. Yeah. So, for example, how did you explain Azure Resource Manager?
Yes, exactly.
Right.
Right. It's another interesting point.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I typically use like this analogy to think about Azure Resource Manager like as a vending machine. You go and you have like all these um, um, chocolates or sodas in the vending machine, right?
Yeah, right.
And then you go to the vending machine, you select the product that you want to get, and then you get what you choose. So it's a similar approach in Azure, right? So with Resource Manager, you have different providers in there. You choose the SKU, what you want to get, and then you use like different tools like the REST API or via PowerShell or via Azure CLI or Bicep language or ARM templates to get the product, right, if you will.
Yeah.
And I have seen that people who are new to Azure quickly gets what Azure Resource Manager is and how it works behind the scenes.
Yeah, nice. And tell me us if the people connect with you, what is the best social media or the best local that the people can meet with you? Like for example, email or LinkedIn. I don't know what is the social media that
Yeah.
you more use.
It's probably through your community, right?
Yeah,
Or through LinkedIn.
LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I will put the LinkedIn link in description. All right. Thanks so much again.
Thank you.
Thanks for your time. É isso aí, pessoal. Ficamos por aqui com mais um episódio do nosso teste em produção. Espero que vocês tenham gostado. Em breve voltaremos com mais entrevista.